Welcome back to the OCBC Cycle Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur for the third edition in 2014. Hotly anticipated after the incredible action of the 2013 event, which was also staged in mid-January. 1 year ago, the crowds went wild as the race delivered thrills and spills from start to finish, which allowed Malaysia's Anwar Manan to cruise to victory in the men's open criterium race with a time of 59.19 seconds over second place Stephen Hall from Australia, riding for the Arbitrage Wormall team. And there was more joy for the home crowd as Team ATM Cycling's Mohammed Zamri bin Saleh took third spot, meaning there were 2 podium places for Malaysian riders. This year, the famous Dataran Merdeka, or Independence Square in the heart of KL, was the location for OCBC Cycle Malaysia. And the square was transformed into a cycling festival for the gathered fans and spectators that lay at the center of a 1.3-kilometer track that snaked through the narrow streets surrounding it. That track would crown champions in the 3 main categories of competition. The criterium opens for men's, women's and men's master, with a total of 64 riders competing and fighting for a prize purse of close to Ringgit Malaysia 9,000. And also the title of King of the Sprints for the Men's Open. The schedule for race day would see the main event after the Women's Open and Masters races set for just after lunch, followed by the flag-off for the Men's Open criterium itself, with the other attraction races to be run in between. In the words of Chris Robb, Managing Director of Spectrum Worldwide, the organizers behind OCBC Cycle Malaysia 2014, it really is an event for all.
And the opportunity for all different categories to get involved. So it's kids riding their tricycles, it's beginner young kids riding 5 kilometers, it's adults riding socially in the community riding 24 kilometers, it's the more serious riders riding the challenge, and then obviously culminating in the open criterium, so for the serious racers. So something for everybody in the heart of one of Asia's biggest cities, and the opportunity to ride on closed roads.
The Masters category is now an expected and welcome part to almost all road racing events, eligible only to riders 40 years and above, which creates their biggest challenges stemming from endurance, fatigue and dehydration. But even with those obstacles, the racing is always competitive and has delivered some incredibly close results. 14 riders would race for the Masters Criterium crown, but they wouldn't include the defending champion Danny Feng from the US, who missed this year's race. But his podium mates from 2013 were there, Tony Harvey from Great Britain and Michael Duane from Australia. And they led a pack that contained 6 Malaysian riders, all holding the dream of a home win. But those Malaysian dreams started fading fast, almost from the flag off, as Michael Duane and Tony Harvey resumed their rivalry from the get-go, pushing their bikes and bodies to the limits and quickly leaving daylight between themselves and the rest of the peloton. They rode in tight tandem at speed and were cheered by the watching spectators every time they crossed the start line, which they shared on occasion with Noor Azian from the Women's Open, who found herself as traffic for the Masters leaders to negotiate. Undeterred, they powered on with the fatigue and exhaustion from the relentless noon sun, obviously taking its toll on both, but still they remained glued together on the track. Any of the narrow track conditions or just one wheel out of place could have determined the outcome between these 2 consummate competitors. But in the end, it was Michael Duane who finally won his first Masters Open Criterium race at OCBC Cycle Malaysia, with a time of 31 minutes 39 seconds, which, though shared by Tony Harvey, was judged to have come in second. Alan Bernhard was the next rider in, almost a minute later, to claim third place. So, a good showing from the United Kingdom as 2 of their 3 riders claimed podium positions. In third place, Alan Bernhard, whose total race time of 32 minutes 31 seconds was still way behind the fighting top 2, who had built up a 43-second lead over everyone else. Tony Harvey, runner-up last year with a 31.24, crossed the line alongside Australia's Michael Dwayne, with both clocking in at 31.39. Dwayne edged it though, which meant that it was another silver for Tony Harvey, but by the smallest of margins. The official results confirm how close it was between Harvey and Dwayne, and the distance between them and Alan Bernhard. A good showing also from Japan, who had two riders in the top six, with Toshiro Asahina and Masanori Takahashi in fourth and sixth, with Singaporean Mohamed Husni Jumadi taking fifth. Australia's Arzelan Rebeck finished seventh, but there was no reward for the two Malaysian riders, Suhairi Shahrudin and Kenny Lim Ki Sun, who were forced to retire. So to the winner, Michael Dwayne, who we asked, was it easier or harder riding against a good friend like Tony Harvey?
It was okay. Tony's an old friend, so we've done lots of riding and racing together, so we were clear of the rest of the field, so it was always between the two of us. And I know what his strengths are, so I know what I had to do to try and beat him.
Still to come on our highlights show, wheel-to-wheel action in the Women's Open and a race for all those at OCBC Cycle Malaysia 2014 who prefer practicality over power. It's the Ultimate Foldies Challenge, coming up after the break. You're back with the OCBC Cycle Malaysia 2014, which is certain to hold good memories for Michael Dwayne, who bettered his third-place 2013 outing, taking top spot in the Masters Criterium from a wheel-to-wheel finish with last year's runner-up Tony Harvey of Great Britain. Both riders shared the same second at the finish line and were inseparable throughout the race. Next up was the Ultimate Foldies Challenge, a new colourful category added this year, catering to the ever-growing folding bike community in Malaysia. All participants were entered into a heat before the fastest male and female cyclists qualified for the grand finale, where they competed for the right to be crowned OCBC Cycle Malaysia's fastest foldie. Prizes were also awarded for other fun races, such as the Best Dress Foldies for all the riders who got creative with their bikes and clothes. The field of races, numbering 30 for the men's category and just 5 for the women, were predominantly made up of Malaysian riders, which kept the home crowd riveted on the various riders and their assortment of foldable bikes. The only other countries represented were Singapore and the US in the men's event, but they simply couldn't make it onto the podium, with so many home riders looking to impress. The highest Singaporean rider was Lo Newman in the end, who made it up to 7th over the race. It was Malaysia for the first 6 spots in the men's, with the best of them being national cycling hero Noor Effendi Rosli, bronze medalist at the 93 Asian Cycling Championships, who finished the 14 laps in 28 minutes, 21 seconds, just 1 second ahead of the duo of Yahya Abbas and Mohamed Shazlin Sazali. Meanwhile, in the smaller women's category, it was a family affair and pretty much plain sailing for Noordina Safia, who made her dad proud on the day, and he was right there as well, as Noordina's father was none other than Noor Effendi Rosli.
For 350, Lifeline ID, Fitness First workout voucher, complimentary juice voucher.
It was a proud moment indeed for a father to see his daughter follow him up onto the winner's podium. In fact, while Noor Effendi shared just 1 second with second and third place Yahya Abbas and Shazlin Shazali in the men's event, his daughter was almost 2 full laps ahead when she crossed the line ahead of Janine Thong in second and Lei Simtae in third.
OCBC ini yang pertama kali di Malaysia, tapi OCBC di Singapura saya banyak kali. Saya adalah veteran di OCBC Singapura. Saya dah 2-3 kali saya menang di OCBC Singapura untuk kategori master. Di Malaysia baru pertama kali.
Nak cakapkan rasa tak sangka, tapi at the same time syukur pada ayah sebab telah ajar train semua. And I'm really grateful to my team sebabkan basikal Tyrell, and I'm so happy this day. When I entered the race, it is kind of scary when it's not belok because it's so sharp and the road is kind of slippery. So this is my first time. I was kind of scared at that time. So I was just like, okay, be careful and don't hit anybody. I'm just so scared because Seleko is so dangerous. I'm just scared to turn.
With the new Ultimate Foldies Challenge proving to be a resounding success, the anticipation for the Women's Open increased with every passing minute. Last year, it was a battle between Mariana Mohammed, this year racing as number 81, and number 84, Noor Azian Alias, with Mariana taking the win in a very close race. And all eyes were again on both, as the riders were called from the holding area to the start line. For all the ladies, it was time to put their training to the test. So, an all-Malaysian affair in the Women's Open, which would have made the gathered home crowd very proud. Defending champion Mariana Mohammed lining up with some of the best in Malaysia, including Lauretta Eva Adrian, along with former SEA Games medalist and 2013 runner-up, Noor Azian Alias. So, a revenge match of sorts between the two riders who dominated last year's edition, or maybe both would be pipped by a new sensation. All was revealed as the Women's Open flagged off, and immediately 3 riders broke off the line quicker than the rest. Noor Azian Alias, Mariana Mohammed, and Lauretta Eva Adrian. Pedaling as fast as they could in the searing sun of lunchtime in Malaysia, they kept very close to each other, each looking for the right opening to gain an advantage. But none came, as all 3 girls were fully aware of the situation and defended their lines admirably. The crowd watched with amazement as there was literally nothing between them for the next 4 laps, before Lauretta found a break and moved up into second, fighting with Mariana, with just 1 second split between them. Mariana then had to devote more attention to keeping second place, which fell perfectly into the hands of her nemesis. Her struggles gave Noor Azian the chance to break off, and she accepted it gladly. 4 laps later, she had painstakingly crafted a 6-second buffer between herself and the fight for second and third, and soon had extended that lead to 8 seconds. She expertly made use of the men's Masters criterium being ridden at the same time, and fell in behind those leaders to make the most of the slipstream that they were creating. Second and third was still neck and neck, but Mariana would find her own opportunity and skillfully moved ahead of Lauretta with 2 laps to go. But even that would not be the end, as Lauretta proved how sprints can win the day in road cycling and took second spot for all the avid cycling fans gathered at the final stretch, leaving the defending champ to settle for third. As for Noor Azian Alias, it was first place in a blistering time of 31 minutes 42 seconds. For Noor Azian Alias, who is now a mother more than a rider, it was a good day out on the bike.
Quite good lah, tapi tak berapa ramai peserta yang datang, cuma 4 orang wanita saja. Itu pun daripada satu pasukan kami juga. Jadi kita try cuba berlumba dengan veteran.
Noor's dominance on track and perfectly executed strategy, especially in the final stages, could be seen in the official results once they were verified, with a clear lap over second-place Lauretta Eva Adrian and Mariana Mohammed in third, and 3 laps ahead of fourth-place finisher Umi Hamima Mohammed. Don't go anywhere, because it's not over yet at OCBC Cycle Malaysia 2014, as up next is the cream of the crop from the criterium races, the Men's Open, and a battle royale between 2 top teams. Stay tuned. You're back with the OCBC Cycle Malaysia 2014. Malaysia's Anwar Manan took the men's open criterium race back in 2013 in just under an hour. Second place was claimed by Stephen Hall from Australia, riding for the Arbitrage Wormall team, and hot on his heels was another Malaysian national rider, Team ATM Cycling's Mohammed Zamri bin Saleh, who took third spot. This year, the track itself is a closed 1.3-kilometer loop, taking the riders through and out of Dataran Merdeka in the shadow of the great Malaysian flag housed there. The peloton will then turn left before they run parallel to Kuala Lumpur's Gombak River, weaving its way through the city, then just another left and they're back on home straight. 45 of the best in Asia, Malaysia and the world made up the men's open on Saturday afternoon. Among them, defending champion Anwar Manan, riding for the Terengganu cycling team, along with his national teammate Noor Amirul Fakhruddin, and 2011 Czech cycling tour winner Martin de Jonghi. And right up with them were Cameron Bailey, along with the ever-consistent Rico Rogers, riding for the OCBC team.
Tahu lagi lah tahun ni sebab tahun lepas kan bersama macam ke individu kan, race by individu. Jadi tahun ni ada sikit different lah, sebab tahun ni kaya bersama tim TSG, mungkin dia ada planning semua. Jadi dalam sekarang ni ada 2 orang sprinter dalam tim ni sama Haris Saleh. Jadi mungkin saya sebagai domestik untuk pacer dia untuk last lap ataupun strategi untuk try attack lah, macam mana.
World cycling is now well established all over the globe as we take our first steps into the 21st century, and it's no surprise that it's delivered a crop of road cyclists that literally push the limits in every tournament from all 4 corners of the world. And it was no different here, as the peloton gathered at the start line included riders from New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, the Netherlands and Malaysia. A lot was riding on the shoulders of the Malaysian national riders, of course, but none more so than defending champion Anwar Manan, sporting the #1 on his Terengganu cycling bike. But as the race flagged off, Anwar found himself in some serious traffic trouble and dropped immediately down to 15th place, as Mohammed Adik Suhaini led the pack into the first corner, ahead of Cameron Bailey and Noor Amirul Fakhruddin. At these speeds and in such close quarters, the early part of the race usually sees a number of riders take the lead, and this time around there were clear roads ahead, even be it for just a few seconds, for Mohammed Zamri of Team ATM, and after 3 laps, another Terengganu rider, Yusrisal Yusof, who showed some great bike handling to force his way to the front. It didn't take long for the clash of speed and space to create trouble. A minor race pile-up midway through the 5th lap saw a number of riders affected and led to another change of lead. It was Mohamed Fahmy who initially lost control, damaging his front tire and sustaining bruises on his knees and abdomen, enough to see the top 3 of Yusof, De Jonghi and Fakhruddin fall back, leaving Zulhelmi of Terengganu and Hamidin of Team MSN up front. The sprint king for the last 2 years was Anwar Manan, but this time around he was using everything he had just to climb through the peloton and was already in 9th, when the 3 Terengganu riders and OCBC's Rico Rogers were logged as fastest. Being such a small, closed track, the intensity of the racing never abated, and with riders using their slipstream strategies well, they could keep increasing speed. On a figure-of-8 track, like OCBC Cycle Malaysia, the wind plays a major role, so if riders can keep close into the slipstream of the rider ahead of them, they can save up to 30% energy and claim a boost of speed as they exit to overtake. Due to factors like this, the lead changed 4 times over the next 5 laps, which was thrilling for the gathered fans. Sprint 2 was called at the halfway mark, but this time only 3 of the original 4 winners made it in, with Zulhelmi Afif dropping out, leaving Sharul Mat Amin, OCBC's Rico Rogers and Mohammed Harif Saleh still in the running. It was a sprint lap that elevated the entire peloton. This was the view from within it, as taken from Anwar Manan's bike, as 3 of the first 4 riders clocked in their fastest laps on laps 16 and 17. But it was clearly a battle between Terengganu Racing and OCBC all the way to the end, with the black and white Terengganu riders flashing by in large groups. They would dominate the next 5 laps up to the last sprint at 8 laps to go, where this time only 2 of the riders in the running made it through. Number 6, Terengganu's Harif Saleh, and number 3, OCBC's Rico Rogers. With the end in sight, a frenetic last 6 laps saw 7 of the top 8 riders lead, as a result of some smart team tactics, such as the plan by Terengganu for Mohamed Saufi to hold back the rest to allow his teammate Mohamed Harif to sprint. The fight between Terengganu Racing and OCBC at the front, with 2 laps left, saw the first 10 riders 4 seconds ahead of the chasing pack, and it was desperate to the finish. On the final lap itself, it was the Terengganu cycling team to lead the peloton off the start line, with Mohamed Saufi, Sharul Mat Amin and Mohamed Harif Saleh all tightly packed together, racing along at around 45 kilometers an hour. But in the end, newlywed Terengganu Pro Asia team rider Mohamed Harif Saleh gave himself a perfect confidence boost ahead of next month's Le Tour de Langkawi, taking the checkered flag for a superb win. Harif clocked in at 58.59 to pip compatriot Mohamed Saufi Mat Senan to take top spot at Dataran Merdeka. Mohamed Saufi was just 0.039 of a second behind, while New Zealand's Rico Rogers of OCBC Singapore Pro Cycling Team finished third, 0.135 seconds behind. Local favourite Anwar Manan came in 0.225 of a second slower to finish fourth, after climbing through the entire field. Harif also captured the Cycle Asia King of Sprints classification crown after raking in the most number of points over the 3 designated King of Sprints laps around the circuit at Dataran Merdeka. After such an intense race that left the first 10 riders all placed within just 1 single second, they crossed the finish line after 60 minutes of fast, strategic street cycling. That breakaway group of riders contained its own battle between the Malaysia national team, the Terengganu cycle team, and OCBC's own riders. The winner was finally judged to be Mohamed Harif Saleh of Terengganu, with a scorching time of 58.59, a time shared by the next 3 riders, including Mohamed Saufi Mat Senan, also of Terengganu Racing, who took second, and Rico Rogers of Team OCBC in third place.
Tadi memang betul-betul mencabar pasal ada daripada tim OCBC daripada Singapura, dia punya rider pun daripada New Zealand. Rico tu memang saya selalu berlumba dengan dia, jadi memang dia pun betul-betul kuat juga dia.
Here's the official confirmation of the Men's Open criterium at OCBC Cycle Malaysia 2014. Great rides for the top 3, but credit to defending champion Anwar Manan for an amazing ride. After falling to as low as 15th off the start, Anwar pulled himself back to a respectable 4th, while another Terengganu rider, Muhammad Ali Shafri Razali, rounded off the top 5. It was an awesome performance for the Terengganu cycling team, placing 5 of their riders within the top 10. So, after 2 days of the energy and excitement that is unique to OCBC Cycle Malaysia, the 2014 edition draws to a close, but it brought with it highlights and memories that will be remembered for a long time to come, and certainly till the next OCBC Cycle Malaysia 2015, that will be even bigger and even better. This year, the praise will rightfully fall on the riders who excelled on the day. Mohamed Harif Saleh for his 110% effort in the Men's Open that got him the title and also saw him crowned King of the Sprints. In the Women's Open, it was Noor Azian Alias who stripped Mariana Mohammed of her OCBC Cycle Malaysia crown, while Michael Duane took the Masters title. They joined the winners from the 9 total categories of racing that were staged, from kids' rides and tricycle races to charity and community challenges. The next Cycle Asia event will be staged in Singapore in March. We hope you can join us then for coverage from Asia's largest mass participation cycling event, OCBC Cycle Singapore. See you then.